start recording. There we go. So each of you will notice you have skills. That's the attune and command and all those other things. Some of them are already filled in. You'll have one skill with 2 points and one skill with 1 point. You get 4 more points to distribute. But before you do that, let me explain a couple of things. First is how dice rolls in this game work. In Blades in the Dark, you're going to roll a number of dice equal to the skill that you're using. And you take the highest number. If you roll a 6, you succeed spectacularly. Everything goes the way you want it to go. If you roll a 4 or 5, it mostly worked out for you, but something went wrong. 1, 2, or 3, it didn't work. It failed.
Okay.
If you roll 2 6s, you got a critical. There is, by the way, no way to fumble in this game. Just critical. If you have 0 dice in something, you roll 2 dice and take the lower number. Even if you roll 2 6s, though, if you start with 0 dice, you can't critical. At best, you have 1 6. So, obviously, there's an advantage to having multiple dots in the same skill. You can't have more than 2 dots in any skill at character creation. At this point in character creation. That will change down the road. But there's an advantage and a disadvantage to generalizing and taking multiple skills. You'll notice the skills are broken into 3 attributes: prowess and 2 other things. So to actually do things, you roll the skill. If you're trying to resist a consequence of something going wrong, you roll the attribute. The number for the attribute is decided by how many skills you have at least 1 dot in that category. So if you have all 4 in prowess, for example, then you have a 4 prowess. So yeah, there's an advantage to specializing, and there's an advantage to generalizing as well. There's also a number of ways to increase how many dice you roll. The other thing to realize with the 4 dots that you get, 1 dot is supposed to reflect something about your heritage. And another dot should reflect your background, and the other 2 dots you put wherever you like. Oh,
Okay,
that's the other thing. 1 dot that you place now should represent your heritage, where you came from. So figure out some way it connects to that. 1 dot should represent your background. And then the last 2 dots go wherever you like. There's no restrictions on that. Here's the other thing to be aware of that I think is really cool about this system. Let's say you want to sneak into somewhere, but somebody has no points in a skill that'll help them sneak. That's okay, because everybody rolls. If you don't have the skill, you roll 2 dice and you take the lower result. And the highest roll is what decides if it works or not. So if somebody criticals and everybody else rolls a 1, you still succeed. You still sneak past the guards. The downside to that is, for every person who fails the roll, who gets a 1, 2, or 3, the person in charge takes 1 stress. So that's some things to keep in mind when you're putting in points.
What would be a good point to represent like the physical side of a labor background?
Tinker could arguably work because it's building things and fixing things. Wreck could also work because, demolitions, knocking down a house.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with survey and rec.
Good choices.
So it was heritage, background, and what were the other two?
Anywhere you want them.
But nothing can be higher than two.
Correct.
Okay.
How's everybody else doing?
Currently looking for descriptions on
Okay, what?
12.
Yeah, I can go through them again because I don't think they're going to be on anything here. Um, actually, it might be. Maybe not. No, okay, let me just look up the characters so I can get the list again. There you go. Here we go. Okay, so the attributes. Hunt is pretty much what it sounds like. It's tracking things. It's long distance shooting. Study is researching things in books. It's also closely examining a situation, trying to tell how looking at somebody trying to tell how they feel would be could be arguably a study. Reading a room, looking for clues could all be study. Surveys. So study is detail. Survey is big picture. It's
Yeah,
like
like kind of like where you're trying to like take in the area. Like I was thinking survey for my military intelligence to try to pick
that's a
up.
very good choice. Um, Study would tell you who is that specific guard you're looking at. Survey is how many guards are there. What are their patrol patterns? Tinker is building and repairing things. It's also lock picking. So finesse is anything that is dexterity, nimble type things, things that require a lot of attention to detail. Picking pockets is finesse. A formal duel with rules would be finesse. Um,
I'm thinking sway for my homeland. Where
okay, Jimmy, that's good, but let me finish going through the
okay,
descriptions.
sure.
Um, Prowl is sneaking around. It's yourself, hiding things, hiding other people. Skirmish is brawling. It's big fights. It's attacking people with swords. Finesse, you use in a one-to-one duel. Skirmish is a general melee. Wreck is breaking things. It's exactly what it sounds like. Blowing things up, taking a sledgehammer to them. Uh, so last four. Attune is magic and dealing with ghosts. Command is intimidation. Consort and sway. Consort is more persuasion. Buying a guy a couple of beers and talking with him. Where sway is more of fast talk. There's a lot of overlap here by design.
Yep.
Um, you can use one skill, multiple skills to do the same thing. Sometimes you'll have a harder time accomplishing something if you use a different skill. For example, if you're in a general melee and you try to use finesse, it's going to be a lot harder to get it done than to use skirmish, or at
Yep.
least it won't be as effective.
I'm 241.
Okay. How's everybody else doing with that? Anybody need more help? Need help? Everybody done?
You said that it can't be above 2 dots, right?
Correct.
Then yeah, I'm done.
Okay. And Jimmy, you said you were done, and David said he was done, and Mike is done.
I might actually change the one thing. I was gonna put sway, but I might move it up to command instead.
That's absolutely fine if that's what you want to do. The last thing to do on this character sheet before we move onward is you need to pick your special ability. Everybody gets a special ability. There's a list of them on your character sheet. Just take whichever one you take. If you're looking at your character sheet going, I'm not sure which one is the best choice. The one at the top is usually a really good starting choice. They're put in order for that order more or less for a reason. Again, if something's unclear, if you want to know how something works, feel free to ask. One very useful thing for you, Mike, is as a cutter is Mule, which requires me explaining how equipment works in this game. So everybody will notice in the around the middle of your character sheet is an area. It says load and then items. At the beginning of each mission, everybody will decide individually what kind of load they're carrying: light load, normal load, or heavy load. You decide the load that you're carrying. So if you're doing a light, for example, you're carrying 3 points worth of items. Heavy is 5 points, or medium is 5 points. Heavy is 6 points. Mike, you can take Mule, and that adds 2 more points. What you're actually carrying, you decide when you need it.
Okay.
So it's like, oh, I really want my spirit mask. It's a good thing I have it on me.
I'm considering not to be trifled with, though.
They're all good choices. There's not a bad choice on these sheets.
And then for the phrasing, +1D is equivalent to having an extra dot.
You roll an
in
extra
that
die.
skill?
Yeah, exactly correct.
Okay.
I'm looking at connected.
Like in every other game, there is specific trumps general. So if you see something on here that says you can go up to 3 dots in something, if you take that, you can go up to 3 dots.
Where during downtime you can get +1 result level when you acquire an asset or reduce heat.
Okay, so after you guys finish a score, you go into downtime. Everybody gets 2 downtime actions. You can do a couple of things with downtime. You can acquire an asset, which means you can go get an item you need, or you could use it to go find a person you need, or something like that. Um, or another option is that you can reduce heat. Like I said, heat is how much attention the law is paying to you. If you fill up your heat bar on your, which you'll see on the when we get to the crew sheet, you get the first level of wanted, which means that some people are actively trying to arrest you. So a bonus to reducing heat means you reduce more heat when you take that action during downtime.
When can you gain additional special abilities?
Good question. So you'll gain experience as the game goes on. You get it from certain dice rolls. You get it from there's experience triggers that should be listed on everybody's character sheet. Um, whenever you do one of those things, like solving a problem with violence in the case of Mike's character as a cutter, you get a point of experience. If you get the experience from making a dice roll, it will go into the attribute that the dice roll was based on. So if you get experience from skirmish, for example, it puts a point of experience in prowess. When you fill the track, which are those ticks at the top next to insight prowess, then you get a new point and a new dot to put anywhere. If you go to the bottom of your character sheet, there's a playbook advancement. You can also get experience specific to your playbook. They'll give you a couple of ways at the bottom there. When you fill that track, you get a new special ability. And another action you can always take during downtime is you can train, which gives you 1 experience point to put it wherever. Any other questions? What am I doing? Hang on, everybody who's watching this. I did a dumb. I did a dumb. There's the Jitsi. Sorry, I accidentally closed my window. Okay, so where's everybody at with special abilities? Questions? Has anyone picked theirs?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, I went with Mule. It's going to be too useful starting out.
Yeah. David, where are you at?
Yeah, I picked Ghost Mind from the very beginning. It kind of worked into the backstory I saw for this character. I'm a little confused. I don't see anyone else's character sheets.
I made them only selectable by each person.
Okay. I also
And
took control of the Whisper token on
good,
the main page.
good. And Jimmy is currently off, which is fine. I'll check with him when he comes back. Or Jimmy, are you there? No, he's muted. I can see
Yes,
the
I'm
little
here.
mute. Oh, did you pick your special ability?
Yes.
Cool. What'd you go with?
Connected?
Good choice.
Yes. I
Which
was
brings
trying to ask about the items. I see there's a list of them here and a bigger list there. Do the ones on this side count for those, or are they separate?
so when you start a mission, you'll decide what kind of load your character is carrying: light, medium, or heavy. That tells you how many slots for items you have. When you need an item, you just pick it off the list.
Ah.
Those are all of the possible items you can have access to. The
Hmm.
ones in the gray area are unique to your character.
Hmm.
Mike can't does not have those items. For example, he has his own list.
Yeah, like the alternative identity one looked like a good one for me.
No, but again, it's the beauty of it. Because remember, this is not a game of obsessive planning. This is a game of jump into it.
Yes.
So you don't have to decide now what equipment you carry around with you. You decide it when you need it.
Oh yeah, and be like, oh, here's a flashback where I did this thing, right? Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
Sure.
So the next thing to decide is a group decision, which is what type of crew are you running? There are 6 options, which are what type of crime you specialize in. Again, specializing in a crime doesn't mean you can't do other things. It just means this is what you're known for. Assassins, which are killers for hire, as it sound just like it sounds like. Um, they may do it by accidents, by disappearances, by straight up murders. Sometimes they also get into kidnapping and ransom. So you're not necessarily always going to be killing people. Bravos, which are mercenaries and thugs. They do battles, extortion, sabotage, smash and grab. Cults. You are a cult dedicated to some forgotten god. You look for artifacts associated with your god. You do augury, fortune telling, consecration, and the best of all, of course, being criminals, you sacrifice people. There are hawkers, which are people that deal in the vices. Product procurement, covert sales, shows of force, social events. You could be drug dealers. You could run gambling dens. You could do prostitution. Shadows, which are your thieves and spies. Burglaries, espionage, robberies, and sabotage. And then last but not least is smugglers. Transporting contraband. You execute clandestine deliveries, territory control, and expeditions outside of the city. As a group, you have to decide on one of them.
I kind of like the shadow one, but there's a number of interesting options there.
I was leaning towards the one before Shadow. I can't remember what it was called.
Hawkers?
Yes.
Hawkers would be interesting
That
because
would
it
be.
gives us that central location to build up kind of feel, kind of like how a lot of games integrate a city builder aspect.
And we provide the services that other people relieve their stress with.
I should say, whichever one you choose, you get a base of operations that you will then expand on.
Yeah, but this justifies why none of us have vices of substances or stupor, because you never
True.
get high on your own supply.
Mike, what do you think?
I was more aiming or thinking around assassins, smugglers, or vigilantes. Maybe shadows.
I do like Assassins from the beginning just because I think the lore around trying to kill things
Or capture.
when there are extra steps to ghosts is kind of interesting.
Yeah, the kidnapping could be helpful in there too. Yeah.
Is it still a kidnapping if we put their soul in a jar?
And yes, as a Whisper, you do have that ability.
It's on my my items.
Yes, I know.
2 spirit bottles.
Yep.
One for the target, and one in case any of my teammates get uppity. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, they put vigilantes on here. Interesting.
Vigilante?
I would prefer not to go with vigilantes because I prefer keeping it a crime game.
Would that be like where you commit crime by going after other criminals?
Yeah.
Meta crime.
It's not a terrible choice, but I kind of prefer to keep it the rogue. It steps away from the rogue theme that I see as inherent to the game.
Yeah.
But again, it's up to you guys as a group, what you want to do. I will be happy with any of them.
What was the pitch one more time for Shadows?
Thieves and spies.
So you take stuff, you get information.
Yep.
Break into places, obtain things.
So how do you add your token to the board?
I just took control of the token that was already there. You click on it, it'll pop open. There's a gear icon, and then you can change the name.
Yeah.
So you have a couple of options there. What about the cult thing? That was kind of interesting.
I do not want to do cult.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would only do cult if everybody was on board with cult.
I will say, for the record, the thing to keep in mind with cult is there aren't any set religions in this game, so you basically get to make up your own.
Yeah, there's some like organizations, I guess.
Yeah, there's a couple of big ones, but you're not really going to be one of those. You're going to be a smaller one.
Yes.
But if Mike doesn't want to do cult, then you guys should pick something else.
Yeah.
Again, it's not like you're spoiled for choices.
True.
But I am playing so many word games, all with the same word. If you because I even went and replaced the image icon for my character sheet.
Oh, brother.
Which, if you look in the things, you should show up. It's at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're killing people, that does attract more heat.
But if you go with an assassin, there are ways to offset that.
Okay.
Ideally, if you have the body, so if you assassinate somebody, there's a way to offset that. If you leave dead bodies behind, you're still going to have a problem.
Dead bodies could be useful. You could sell them to like the spirits to inhabit them or something.
True. But it still draws the attention.
Let's see. The hawkers are kind of like the ticket scalpers a little bit.
Drug dealers, ticket scalpers, pimps. Maybe not pimps for a YouTube game.
Like, keep the pimp hand strong. Oh no.
Well, this game is not child friendly to begin with.
This is true,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Where are the shadows again?
thieves and spies.
So acquire items, acquire information.
Yep. So what Jimmy did for the military.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's even with the group that we have, the shadows or smugglers might actually be better than even assassins for us.
I could do either of those.
Yeah, shadows are like classic thieves. Yeah, we got. And yeah, the information gathering is power. That can be a good one.
Yeah. What do you think, Amisha?
We could do shadows.
Okay, shadows it is.
Aha, what we do in shadows.
I'll make a copy of this. I'd rather
We
keep
need to
them
see
separate.
that show.
Though it becomes less necessary. Yeah, I shouldn't really need another copy of Shadows because if other people come in, I may want copies of the other character sheets, but there's still gonna be Shadows, so I don't necessarily need to make a new one of that. So I'm gonna just make sure that everybody can edit that because this is something you share. All players can edit it. All players control it. Yep.
I named my character Marcus Metzger.
Okay.
And the alias is the Schlachter. And the trade is background butcher. And it's for the cutter, which butchers are also meat cutters.
Yep.
And for when I was looking for a better image than the black and white one, they went there and I typed in butcher. The one that came up that I thought would be best was Butcher from The Boys.
Okay.
But so Metzger and Schlachter are two different ways to saying butcher in German. So it's all butchers the whole way through.
Butcher.
Yeah, the first thing you have to decide, next thing you have to decide, I should say, as a group, is on your initial reputation, which is going to be one word that other criminals know your group for. There's a couple of suggestions you can also come up with your own. Ambitious, brutal, daring, honorable, professional, savvy, subtle, or strange.
Who doesn't like strange?
I will say that when you do things associated with your reputation, that will net you experience for the shadows as a whole, which lets you get other advancements and upgrades. So you want to pick something you're gonna want to role play a lot.
So what we're figuring out what we're known for.
Yeah. So we've got
what's your reputation in a word?
A leech, a whisper, a cutter, and I'm sorry, what was the fourth person?
Spider? Like a mastermind?
Okay.
All right, and there's a couple of choices, like they're adjectives, basically.
Yes. What's the adjective that when people think of your group? What's the adjective they use?
Oh, good, that laugh wasn't recorded.
Do you guys want to go with daring?
It's a good choice.
Hmm.
Uh,
What were the choices again?
Well, some suggestions, because you can make up your own, are
Okay.
ambitious, brutal, daring, honorable, professional, savvy, subtle, and strange.
Hmm. What would savvy do for us?
You're known for being savvy, for being clever businessmen. It's what are you
Hmm.
known for? When you
Between a
act
whisper,
that way, you'll get experience.
Honorable could be interesting.
between a spider and a whisper, I definitely feel like we have the potential to set up situations pretty heavily.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
I kind of like savvy, but yes.
So, what does savvy entail exactly?
You're known for being savvy. You're known for making good business deals, for
So
being
what?
clever and
So what
sneaky.
sort of things would count towards that?
Getting the better of somebody in a business deal.
Hmm.
Mm.
You're asking for specifics for something that's deliberately vague.
Ah, okay.
I, I
Uh,
I have a
Deliberately
feeling.
vague
I
is
have
an
a
important
feeling
point.
this group is probably going to be more unique or unorthodox.
Oh, like the
That's
weird
why I
one?
initially said strange.
yeah.
Strange?
I think
Yeah.
strange. Kind of a
Strange to
how
go.
the fuck did they do that?
Oh,
Yeah, I would. That was my initial feeling as well.
Yeah. All
Is that
right.
you guys are
what
strange?
what I
I'm
was
typing it in for you.
Out of the way.
what I laughed myself that was muted for was because because I immediately thought foobar.
I mean, could we take collateral damage as our reputation?
That could be our name if you.
Hey, you have to
Collateral
name your
damage.
group too. Collateral damage might be a good name. Destructive, I think, would be a better general reputation than collateral damage.
You call us in when you don't care about the consequences. We'll get the job done. No one knows how we managed to get the job done, but there's going to be a mess in the meantime.
Okay, so we can circle back to that if anybody wants to change it off of strange. But in the interest of keeping things going,
Okay.
Right, right.
the next thing to decide is on your lair. Your lair is going to be a specific part of the city that, to save time, I'm going to go with it's an area called Crow's Foot.
Mhm.
It's one of the poorer parts of the city. But inside of Crow's Foot, you have a particular base of operations. There's a couple of options. It might be a half sunken grotto. The city is very much like Venice in that it sits on a series of canals. But it's been around a long enough time that there are canals under the streets. And basically, if you go with the half sunken grotto, you've got a little area in down in the sewers, essentially. Might be an abandoned watchtower atop an ancient crumbling wall. The unassuming back rooms of a merchant's shop. A small abandoned house at the end of a dark lane. A rickety tin roof shack perched on a rooftop. Or a junked train car.
What about the clock tower? That sounds pretty cool.
It does sound neat. I was initially thinking something where we have a front and then we have it almost like a speakeasy type setup where you know how to get him back for all the illegal stuff.
That's kind of neat.
Well, What about if this is a city of canals and roadways like that? Is there any place that's sort of like the London Bridge, where you actually have uh, like places and watchtowers and cubbies that are actually part of the bridge, like a tower?
There isn't really a bridge in this part of the city.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, the clock tower kind of reminds me of like the Birds of Prey show a little bit.
You can
And the
absolutely.
sewers. Sorry.
I was going to say, it describes it simply as an abandoned watchtower, but I can absolutely make that a clock tower if that's what you guys would like.
Or bell tower in a church.
Yeah, also a viable option.
I don't I don't know of many places that actually have clock towers other than
Well, I mean, I
ones
don't
with
think clocks
spokes.
are even really. I don't know if they're even used anymore, but
The city that you're Duskvol is like if Prague, Victorian London, and Vienna all had a baby. That would be Duskvol. So yes,
I
there are
think,
clock towers.
yeah, clock or bell.
David, you were going to say something about sewers?
Made me think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
The gargoyles.
yeah,
Yes.
gargoyles
That,
up there.
with a
Yeah, I
clock
was
tower.
thinking gargoyles as well.
It would
Is
be at the
everybody
top
good
of a
with the
tower
clock
of some
tower?
rich dude's
Yeah.
mega castle.
Well, you have the entire
Well,
tower. It's not just the top. How much of it's in good repair will
he
depend on other
was a rich
decisions.
dude.
That's pretty cool. That's defendable potentially.
Mm-hmm. You know what's that? Someone's coming after us. We have a literal castle.
Okay, we'll get into that later because that's going to require a bunch of descriptions of things.
And we get like advantages for having a particular layer.
Um, maybe in terms of game, not statistically, but certainly in terms of gameplay.
Oh, okay.
So the next thing is you got to pick a special ability. If you scroll down, you'll see a list of special abilities and
Didn't we already do this?
yes, but you get one for being shadows as well.
Oh,
Starts with
like
everyone steals, ghost echoes, pack rats, patron, story, slippery, synchronized, and veteran.
You know, if we want to go with some castle above a rich dude's tower, patron does fit.
ooh. Yeah, having a patron could certainly help. They could like look out for us and stuff. Yeah.
Well, here's the other thing patron does for you. As your group grows in size, you're going to run into um, tiers. You're at the moment you're tier 0, which is weak and tiny. Eventually, you're going to be tier 1, tier 2, and so forth. As you gain reputation, you get the chance to go up in tier. But it also costs coin. You need 12 coin to go up in tier. If you have a patron, it's only 6 coin to go up in tier.
Ooh. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, I think
And
patron's good.
okay.
And I couldn't find the actual editable one that wasn't the base.
We're editing.
Yeah, I'm
the base
using the
one.
base.
Okay.
Yeah,
So the next thing to decide is upgrades. You get 2 upgrades.
Right.
Well, actually, you get 4 upgrades, but 2 of them are chosen for you.
The layer is hidden.
Its layer is hidden, and you have prowess training. What prowess training means is when you take an action to train during your downtime, normally you get 1 experience point. If you train in prowess, you get 2 experience points. So the other upgrades you can choose from. There is a listing of them here. swear I saw it in the character sheet. Oh, here we go. So crew upgrades. Top, third column from over. You have steady, which takes 3 upgrades and lets you take another box in stress. It's very useful, but now's probably not the time to take it. Thief rigging. Thief rigging adds 2 more points of load to everybody's load in every. So instead of you start out with a 3 load if you're a light load, now it's a 5. It's just that 2 of those points have to be spent on like burglary tools and similar gear like that. Burglary tools, tinkering tools, things like that. And yes, this does stack with Mule, which means you'd have 4 extra points of load, Mike.
Yeah.
Which is fairly insane.
Which means I'm the Asian kid from Goonies.
Yeah, pretty much. Next one is underground maps and passkeys, which means you have easy passages through underground canals and tunnels and basements in the city.
Ooh, that's kind of cool.
We only get 1, or do we get 2 of that?
You get 2.
I like rigging and underground maps and passkeys.
I like that.
We don't even need to hit the rooks and skulks.
What are rooks and skulks exactly?
Cohort minions. So you don't even start with minions, but when you take minions, it gives bonuses to them.
So no point in taking that from the beginning.
I would say no.
With us doing shadows, I think that those 2 are going to be a lot more useful to us in the short term.
So the one
Yeah.
that lets us go through the underground moving with the doors and stuff. And what was the other one?
The extra
And
carry
the-
capacity for
Yeah,
everybody.
thief rigging.
I think that fits well with the idea that we have a patron. Like we're being fronted by or funded by someone. So yeah, we get stuff.
I know who your patron is.
I
wanted to
actually
involve him
already
anyway.
came up with the. I actually already came up with this acronym for a Kingdom Hearts game. But if we're going to be making gargoyles and Xanatos references, call him Sonata.
Actually, I have a specific NPC in mind, but you may call him Sonata if you wish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That could be his alias.
Yeah. Lord.
Or one of many.
What's his name? Okay. I'm either going to have to.
Oh, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Lord something. Sounds like.
Hold on. I'm looking him up. TV tropes to the rescue. Because otherwise, I'm going to be running through the book the whole time, trying to find the name. It's in the dark. Characters. Lord Skurlock. He's a noble. He's a very old, seemingly immortal noble.
Ooh.
There's a lot of rumors about him. Some people think he's a sorcerer. Some people think he's a vampire. Nobody's really sure. Although everyone knows that the spirit wardens in particular really don't like him. In terms of his job, aside from being a nobleman, like many of the noble houses, he owns a fleet of ships that specifically go out hunting for Leviathan blood. But he has a lot of interest in lots of other things in the city. So, okay, now's the time to talk about where do you guys do your criminal business? Do you want to do it in the same part of the city that you live, or do you want to do it somewhere else?
Somewhere else is probably wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go where the money is.
Or in the whole "don't mess things up where you live."
There's a ruder way to phrase that,
I
but
know.
yes.
I did it on purpose.
Okay, so let me describe the various districts and you decide what sounds interesting. There is Barrow Cleft, which is basically an area that the farmers tend to live in. Its residences and its markets for them. Brightstone, which is grand mansions and luxury shops for the wealthy elite.
Hmm.
Turtle Hall, which is the city's civic offices. It's also a big hub for shops and artisans and commerce. Coleridge, which is the remains of what Duskvol originally was, which is a mining settlement. Coal mining, to be precise. It's now mostly home to laborers and industrial factories. Crow's Foot, which is where I set your lair, which is a cramped neighborhood of multi level streets ruled by gangs. There's currently a three-way gang war going on there. The docks, which have lots of rough taverns, tattoo parlors, fighting pits, and warehouses, as well as that's where the ships stock, obviously. Dunslow, which is a labor camp that is served by convicts and a ghetto for the destitute poor. The night market, which is a trade center for exotic goods that come in by train. It's also one of the big areas for the black market. Silk Shore, which is the Red Lamp district, which is another way of saying it's a red light district. It's also a big artist community. Six Towers, which used to be a very rich district. The name comes from six mansions owned by six of the wealthiest families in the city, but it's long since fallen on hard times. It's now worn down and dilapidated. And lastly, there's White Crown, which is sprawling estates of the Lord Governor, the commander of the Leviathan hunting ships, the Master Warden, and is where Duskvol Academy, which is one of the two colleges in town, are.
I was kind of thinking the one that has the civic center / merchant area seems like a good place for both information and money and items.
Yeah, I like that one.
But since we're just starting out, even though it is in the same area where we're currently based out of, but I could easily see us more likely being hired by one of the gangs to infiltrate and get information on the others.
That's true.
I feel like I'd rather not get into that mess. Personally, I was thinking the night market just because if we're going to be trying to, or at least I'm going to be trying to sell stuff.
Do we have to pick one, or can we like visit some of these
Well, which
different
area is
places
our
in
turf? We could go anywhere, but then we might run into other people being like, "Why are you doing stuff on our turf?"
Yeah, that's pretty much every area in the city is claimed by a bigger gang. This is the area you usually operate out of. You can absolutely go other places. There is nothing stopping you from doing so. But in your home turf, you have at least a bit of area you've carved out for yourself, and you've related to the gang in control in some way, which we're going to get to in a minute.
I like the six. I like the place with the six old
Six
families.
Towers.
What's the one I was saying with the civic center and the merchants?
Well, there's the night market and then the other one.
The other one.
The specific one he was thinking of is Charter Hall.
Charter Hall. Because that seems like that it's not so wealthy that they would have like super security to stop us, but that not so poor that they don't. There's nothing not
Can't
worth
afford us.
stealing. Like it seems like it'd be sort of middle class.
Middle class robbery, yes.
As always, it's entirely up to the group. You have a bunch of good options here.
Too many options.
Yeah, that's kind of the problem.
I mean, we could go for the night market. It's just then
would not mind that.
I could see the trains having good security. We want to be robbing trains.
Figure that would be too much of a risk, personally.
Yeah, that's why I was leaning towards that one because like a nice middle class place with information that we could get like blueprints from like the city hall about like the buildings and the places. Oh, is that a thing? Like, aren't a bunch of the buildings built on top of older buildings?
Yes.
That's kind of neat.
But you
Here's the
already
other
have
question.
detailed maps of everything down there.
Here's the other question: is
Yes.
yes, we are on this crew and all that, but what do people do when they're not? I mean, we know
Downtime.
we know our vices and that, but are our characters purely criminal, or do we actually have a day job, and this is just the day job that's a cover for what we
That's
do?
an excellent question, and that's entirely up to you.
Because like I was literally making my character a butcher to be a butcher as a day job, as a cover for what he does.
I mean, that could work.
Then you're a butcher. That's your day job.
Which is why I was kind of steering away from the, the market that was brought up, because that's probably where my butchery is, or that's where.
Which is
I
another
mean,
question.
So I guess we could do.
I think meat is kind of rare, so I mean, there'd probably be rich people buying your meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose we could do the basically civic center.
Yeah, I like that.
Charter Hall.
What do you-
And again, you might quite reasonably have a butchery somewhere else if you don't want to have it in the same place that you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Charter Hall it is. So that's a question I have to figure out. Because there's a question of which faction runs that part of town.
There might be like 2 or 3 of them potentially.
But no, there's one big faction in particular.
Yes.
Let me look over
Does
the
it say
factions real
in
quick.
the blurb about it?
It does not, by design.
Ah. So who you want to run it?
Exactly.
Some ways it's like which faction we want to work with or something. Sometimes is a thing too.
True, but there's also 60 factions, so it's a lot to go through right now.
Cool.
Actually, I'm going to change my friend
Okay.
to be the crew's patron, and that's where I actually do most of my butchery and meat cutting and stuff.
There we go. Factions. Factions.
Do we have to like tithe to someone or something?
We're getting to that.
Yep. Okay.
Good question. Citizen, city council, crows, no, cyphers, no. Scavengers, no. And eventually. Oh, that'd be the obvious choice. So the big boys in this part of town is called the Hive. Officially it's a guild, a legitimate guild of merchants. Unofficially, they're the mafia. So everybody in the group starts with 2 coin. And you also have 2 coin in the group kitty.
Where do we label that?
There should be a place on your character. There should be a spot, definitely on notes, and then there should be a place on shadows to mark
Ah, there.
coin. So here's the question you've got to decide. How is your relationship with the hive? You have a couple of options. You can pay them off, which means that right now you give up one of your coins for giving you the space to work. You can give up 2 coins as a sign of respect, which will give you 1 point of status with them. You can also pay them nothing at all and piss them off, which gives you -1 status. 2 points of status means that they are going to actually be rather helpful to you. 3 points is you're actually friends and allies. Negative, the biggest thing to be aware of with negative status is that -3 you're actively at war with each other, which is not something you want right now.
One, is that like they kind of tolerate and ignore you?
Yeah, they generally tolerate you. They like you because you paid them,
How's
Now,
but
that
they mostly
each
how
ignore
does
worth
you.
it?
that factor into us robbing shops in the area?
Um, it's basically your fee for being able to do so
Okay, that's fair.
Is that per person or per crew?
as a whole, as a group.
I'm thinking we might as well do the 2 coins.
That seems like a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so where's the hive on this list?
When we go on a job, we could try to earn more coins again.
Yeah, every job you'll get coin, which may raise and did originally when I read it a fair question along the lines of, but isn't it kind of a standard thing in this type of setting to get ripped off by your employer? The answer is yeah, it is in this type of fiction, but in the game it doesn't happen because it would screw up the way that things work.
And yeah, you could try to negotiate, I guess, for what you get paid theoretically, like to use like one of your social skills or something to try to
If if
coerce. Or
getting ripped off is completely assumed in the setting, then you're just gonna take a certain percentage off of every job you take and assume you're only getting that much of a cut. It's kind of like how if you work in food, your minimum wage is a lot lower because you're assumed to get tips.
Yep.
So if it's completely universal, then we just always assume we're going to get paid half.
Okay, we'll deal with that.
There is
I'll
a
deal with
scene
that
of
on
that
my
in
own.
Firefly. There is a scene of that in Firefly when they deliver the cows for that rich dude. And the ranchers start complaining that the cows are skinny. And they offer to pay half. And then as Simon's like, uh-oh, is this going to escalate? Zoe basically pulls him aside and says, nah, they're going to settle on 75% watch. Because it's just the assumed way business flows is they're going to find some reason to rip you off, so you never count on getting your full wage.
Just depends on, like, if you're dealing with someone with, say, with a rep that's honorable, then they might, keep their word. Depends on the rep of the person you're dealing with.
Yeah, but then they might offer less up front because they intend to actually pay you that much.
Okay, the last thing you guys want to figure out is you'll notice on the side you have a list of contacts. Dowler, an explorer, LaRose, a blue coat, Amacio, a deal broker, Fitz, a collector.
Wait a minute.
This
Oh, no,
this is
never
for
mind.
shadows.
Yeah.
Adelaide, Farrog, a noble, or Rigney, a tavern owner. You guys are going to pick a contact that you know as a group, who's a very close friend or longtime ally or even partner in crime.
What
Most
do
of
you?
those are. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The noble that we work for, would he be friends with the other noble?
Potentially.
I don't know. I kind of feel like a blue coat would be put into no.
I have one of those for an archivist, so I mean, one of those could be good for the group potentially too. Yeah.
I feel like it'd be interesting to be caught between the top and bottom echelons of society if our patron is some rich dude that pays us, but our actual buddy is a tavern owner.
Potential solution.
Let's see. For shadows, deal broker.
I guess it really comes down to, is our patron the one that also brings us work, or is the patron just a bankroll?
What does this contact person do? Are they like someone that gives us jobs, or
They could be somebody who gives you jobs, somebody who gives you information, helps you acquire equipment, things like that.
tavern owners have pretty good information? Collectors have pretty good stuff.
Also, potentially, collector's a good choice for a fence.
Yeah.
And your patron does occasionally throw you jobs as well.
I kind of like the collector or the deal broker.
Yeah, we could go with collector.
I like collector, especially if we have a strange reputation. Maybe stealing weird things for the collector is part of the gig. Maybe the collector can help us get items to do things in a more roundabout way.
I think collector's a good
Why do you
choice.
have this robot leg?
What?
Why do you have this robot leg?
We thought you'd like it.
Okay, so the collector it is.
Why do you have the robot leg that you put a lampshade on?
Okay, I think it's unfortunately going to be too late to really get into the game because it's going on 9:30. There's a couple last things I want to draw your attention to. One is just something to keep an eye on and consider, and the other is something you can work on before our first session next week. So you notice the central part of the left side that says layer in the center and has all these lines coming off of it?
Yeah.
So this is areas that under shadows.
The different little things around the layer spot.
Yes,
Layer
that's what I'm
quality
talking.
training cohorts.
Lair, turf, loyal fence, covert drops, informants, gambling den, infirmary, tavern.
Yeah. Okay. The map of upgrades.
Yes, these are places that you can take over. You currently control the lair, and you can expand outward and control other parts of this. Turf will help make it easier to go up in tier. The other things it explains on there what they do. But when you want to try to take something over, all you got to do is let me know, and I'll build an adventure around it. The last thing I want you guys to think about, and you don't have to do this, although some of you have, which is absolutely fine, but you don't have to do this tonight. Come up with a name for your character. If you can think of one, it's also pretty cool to have some sort of nickname. What do they know you about in the underworld?
Honestly, my alias, I'm just taking my playbook name Whisper, because having the ghost sense being the creepy one that sees things, it kind of feels like Whisper just fits.
That's fair.
Ahmed Icos, the Prince.
Okay. And then the other thing to consider is think about what your character looks like.
Yeah.
Are you male? Are you female? Is your gender ambiguous? Do you disguise yourself so that nobody can tell? How do you dress? How do you look? What color is your hair? All that kind of thing. These aren't things that, again, don't worry about it now. Just get that in the back of your head between now and next session.
Yeah.
And happily, you've given me a whole ton of stuff to work with in terms of coming up with stories and things like that, and we'll go forward from here. Otherwise, that's going to just about do it for tonight, unless anybody has any questions.
We have a pretty cool crew.
Yeah, I'm very happy. I'm excited to see where this goes. But that's going to do it for tonight, folks. Players, if you want to hang on a second, I'll talk to you a little bit in the chat before we go. But I'm going to wrap up on screen for what's going to go up on YouTube. Thank you all for listening. This has been a lot of fun. Tune in next week when we'll do the first session. Also tune into the channel. I'll be talking about a lot of other RPGs other than Dungeons and Dragons to give you an idea of what else is out there. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. And remember, may your 20s always be natural. Good night, everybody.